There's a jar of rice in your kitchen. Maybe it's on the counter, maybe tucked away in a pantry behind the oatmeal and flour. You refill it, you don't think much about it. But what if I told you it's been quietly holding energy, waiting for a small shift that could change everything? Not in some dramatic, overnight miracle kind of way, but in the quiet way women like us have always trusted. Through intention, through care, through what we choose to place in the spaces we see every single day. This isn't a story about buying something expensive. It's about taking what you already have, a jar of rice, and gently turning it into a magnet for wealth, for good fortune, for the kind of calm you've been craving but haven't had the words to ask for. All it takes is one small item placed with quiet intention. One item to unlock the energy in your home that's been stuck. One item to help money flow more easily, to bring peace into the spaces that have felt tense, and to remind you that it's not too late to feel supported, grounded, open again. You don't have to believe in magic. You just have to believe that your home is listening. Today, I'll show you what to place in your rice jar, not just to attract luck or wealth, but to shift the energy that surrounds you every time you make coffee, every time you stand in your kitchen and wonder, is this all there is? You deserve more, and it starts here with a jar of rice, a small gesture, and a moment to remember that you're allowed to want ease, prosperity, and joy. Let's begin. Part 1. The rice jar is not just a container. You walk into your kitchen like always. The coffee brews, the same drawer sticks, and the light spills across the counter just like yesterday. Nothing is wrong, but something feels paused. You've been carrying life, holding things together, but deep inside you feel a quiet stillness that doesn't comfort you. It lingers, like something in your home is waiting, and maybe so are you. Not for something dramatic, just for something to feel alive again. For a little luck to knock. For money to stay longer, for ease, not effort, to return. And maybe that's why you're here, because you sense that even ordinary things like the rice jar in your kitchen might hold more than they seem. Most people think it's just storage, just rice. But if you've ever stood in that space and felt both grateful and empty, you already know some objects hold emotion, memory, energy. The rice jar has sat through every season, refilled when money was steady, ignored when life got loud, touched without intention. It holds more than grains. It holds a reflection of how you treat your own needs. When something becomes routine, it either becomes sacred or forgotten. The rice jar is touched almost daily. But what if it could become something more? What if shifting the energy inside that small, quiet container could help shift the energy around your finances, your peace, your ability to receive? You don't need a full remodel. You don't need to fix your life. You just need to claim one space, one object, one ritual. The rice jar becomes that place. When you clean it with attention, refill it with care, and place one small symbolic item inside, something meaningful, something chosen, you're not just organizing your pantry. You're awakening the field around you. Because our homes respond to care. And when you place intention in a space you touch often, it changes you. You stand taller, you choose more wisely, you stop waiting for the other shoe to drop, and slowly money starts flowing in with less fear. Luck feels less like a stranger, peace doesn't slip through the cracks. This isn't magic, it's quiet permission. Permission to receive, to stop bracing, to start believing again in the softness of enough. A woman who blesses her rice jar isn't silly, she's powerful. Because she knows change doesn't require noise. It requires presence. So before we talk about what to place in your jar, begin here, clean it. Not for hygiene, for clarity. Replace the rice if it's been sitting stale. Wipe the edges, touch it with purpose. This is not about performance, it's about remembering that you are allowed to feel full, that your home can support you. That one corner of your life can become a quiet magnet for everything you've been afraid to ask for. Let the rice jar become your starting point. Not because it's magical, but because it's real. It's already here, and it's ready to hold more than you ever imagined. Part 2. First item, an old coin from a time before you. There's something quiet about an old coin, the way it carries time without speaking, the way its edges soften, not from damage but from use, You don't need to know where it came from to feel what it holds. It's been passed, carried, forgotten, found. And when you place a coin like that in your rice jar, you're not just adding metal. You're inviting memory. You're anchoring legacy. Money today moves too fast. It's digital, invisible, abstract. You swipe, click, transfer, gone. But an old coin slows time down. It reminds you that wealth is not just about speed or numbers. It's about continuity, about what stays, what returns, what holds its value even after everything else has changed. When you place an old coin in your rice jar, you're saying, let something in this house feel rooted. Let my finances feel held, not chased. Let the energy of money stop running from me and learn to stay. Because energy listens, especially when it's invited with care. The rice already holds nourishment, softness, life. The coin adds weight, not burden but presence. It tells your home we are no longer floating, we are planting something stable. And the coin doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be rare. In fact, the more ordinary it looks, the more powerful it often feels. A penny found in a drawer, a quarter that belonged to your father, a coin from a country you once visited, or simply one that feels right when you hold it. Trust that. This isn't about logic, it's about vibration, and the right coin will feel calm in your palm. Before placing it, take a breath. Hold it, not like it's a tool, but like it's a thread. A thread between who you were, who you are, and who you're becoming. Say something, even silently. Something like, let this home remember steadiness. Let this be a place where money arrives and stays with grace. Then gently lay the coin near the surface of the rice. Don't bury it too deep. Let it touch the air. Let it be seen even just faintly. Energy moves better when it's not hidden. Let this coin act like a beacon, a soft light calling in security, not just luck. What happens next may not be obvious, but you'll feel it. Not like winning the lottery, like exhaling after years of bracing. You might notice bills feel less sharp. You pause before overgiving. You ask, finally, what would it feel like if I let money serve me too? This is the deeper power of the coin. It reminds you that your relationship with money isn't just about earning. It's about allowing. It's about respect. It's about ending the pattern of treating yourself as the last one to receive. And over time, that one coin begins to shift your home's tone. Your kitchen doesn't just feel functional, it begins to hum. The pantry feels fuller, not just physically, but energetically. You stop expecting bad news in the mail. You open to quiet fortune. It's a small act, one object, but the coin is only the beginning. It sets the foundation. It tells the rice we're ready to attract, but also to hold, ready to earn, but also to rest. Ready to stop carrying money with fear and start inviting it with care. So find a coin, not a perfect one, not a new one. Find one with a past and place it in your jar with intention. Let your home feel the difference. Let your body feel the shift. And when you stand in that same kitchen tomorrow, making coffee or peeling an orange, you might notice it, a subtle change, a quiet strength returning. A reminder that you are no longer just surviving. You are rooting, you are receiving, you are remembering your value. And that, softly, steadily, is where abundance begins. Part 3, second item. A plain silver ring, unbroken, unnamed. It doesn't have to shine. It doesn't have to fit your finger. The silver ring you place in your rice jar isn't meant to be worn. It's meant to be remembered. Simple, smooth, unbroken. That's the energy we're calling in now. Quiet steadiness. The kind of balance that doesn't need to prove itself. The kind that lets you breathe again. If the old coin you placed in the jar anchors history, then the silver ring speaks to what holds it all together. Harmony, not the dramatic kind, not perfect peace. Just calm, just enough softness to remind you that receiving doesn't have to come with tension. That prosperity isn't a storm, it's a rhythm, one you deserve to feel. Silver is a metal that carries yin energy, cool, reflective, restoring. It doesn't force its way in. It settles in gently. It holds. And in homes like yours, where so much has been given, where women have held families, paid bills, made decisions in silence, silver arrives as an invitation to soften, to let the nervous system relax, to let the money come without drama, and more importantly, to let it stay. That's why we choose a plain silver ring. No stones, no names, no memories attached, just a clean circle, the symbol of wholeness, of return. of flow that doesn't end in depletion. When you place that ring in your rice jar, you are declaring, I am allowed to be held. I am allowed to receive without proving. Hold the ring for a moment before you place it. Feel its weight, not heavy, but present. Let your fingers trace the loop like they are remembering a rhythm your body once knew. The rhythm of rest, of making decisions without pressure, of being enough even when no one is watching. Then nestle the ring just beneath the top layer of rice. Let it sit close to the surface, touching the grains. You don't need to bury it, just let it rest. Let the rice surround it like a soft embrace. That's what you're creating here, a resting place for energy, for ease, for a calmer relationship with the part of life most often tied to stress. You may not feel it right away, but over the next few days you'll notice small shifts. You'll pause before saying yes to something that drains you. You'll skip that unnecessary purchase, not out of fear but clarity. You'll hear yourself thinking, I can choose peace over pressure. And you will. Because the silver ring is working not as a charm, but as a mirror, reflecting back your right to feel safe, to feel full, without constantly earning it. This ring doesn't bring money in the way a lottery might. It brings something better, the emotional stability that lets you keep what you attract, the groundedness to know what's worth spending on, the silence between impulses that gives you room to think. It makes space for wisdom, for rest, for dignity in every financial decision. Think of the silver ring as the pulse of your rice jar. Not loud, not urgent, but steady, reliable, just like the part of you that's always known how to keep going, even when everything around you was uncertain. But now, instead of holding it all alone, the energy holds you back, supports you, nourishes you like the rice itself. Let that ring remind you, you are not a rescue mission. You are not a backup plan. You are not here to stretch yourself thin for everyone else's comfort. You are worthy of steadiness, of softness, of a home that holds you gently like you've held everyone else. And when you glance at your rice jar tomorrow, maybe just for a second, you'll know something inside has shifted. Not just the object, not just the space, but the way the space sees you, the way it now responds, with calm, with care, with the quiet assurance that you are allowed to build wealth not through hustle, but through harmony. Part 4, third item, a small amethyst near the surface. Not all energy is welcome. Not every thought belongs, and not every opportunity is worth chasing. That's where the amethyst comes in. It's quiet, cool, protective. A stone that doesn't sparkle for attention, but softens what shouldn't stay. When you place a small piece of amethyst near the surface of your rice jar, you are not asking for more. You're asking for clarity. You're asking for peace in the places that feel pulled too thin. For space between the noise so you can hear what matters. Amethyst is known for its spiritual insight. But in a home like yours, it becomes something more. A filter for emotional clutter, for mental fog, for financial pressure that creeps in quietly and makes everything feel urgent. It doesn't scream, it absorbs, and in absorbing it clears. Where the coin rooted your foundation, and the silver ring softened your grip, the amethyst sharpens your vision. It lets you pause before you react. It reminds you that real wealth is not about the next payment, it's about the energy you protect while navigating life. Energy that stays clean, calm, unrushed. The piece doesn't need to be large. A small stone, no bigger than your thumb, is enough. What matters is how you choose it. Hold it before placing it. Feel the coolness against your palm. Ask yourself, what am I ready to release? And not in a dramatic way, but in the quiet, mature way women do when they're tired of overthinking, tired of spinning, tired of saying yes too quickly. Then place the stone near the surface of the rice, not buried, not hidden. Let it catch the light just slightly. Let it remind you every time you open the pantry that your home is now protected, not just from bad luck, but from your own patterns of exhaustion. Because exhaustion, too, is an energy leak. An amethyst helps close it. In the days after placing it, you may notice a shift. Fewer racing thoughts, less reactivity, more grounded decision-making. Maybe you stop answering calls that drain you. Maybe you let something sit unanswered without guilt. Maybe you hear your own intuition more clearly, like a voice you used to ignore but now trust. That's the power of amethyst in your rice jar. not to bring chaos, but to quiet it, not to change your personality, but to hold the space where your wiser self can rise. And isn't that what you've needed? Not more noise, not more options, just a moment to feel certain again. Certain that you're allowed to choose with clarity, that you don't have to rush, that you don't owe urgency to anyone anymore. When paired with the rice, so full of life, nourishment, and earth, the amethyst doesn't overpower. It balances. It joins the other items in creating a home that holds not just money, but you, your energy, your emotional weather, your seasons of joy, rest, protection. Because let's be honest, this world doesn't often make space for older women to feel sure. It asks for productivity, performance, patience. But what if your kitchen, your pantry, your rice jar could become a small rebellion, a place that says, not here, not anymore, I get to feel safe now. That's what the amethyst does. It becomes a line drawn in love, a soft boundary between your peace and the things that try to take it. And with it in place, you don't have to fight, you just have to be present, clear, enough. So if you've been feeling foggy, if money makes you anxious, if decisions feel heavier than they should, place that small amethyst near the rice. Let it be seen. Let it do its work in silence. And trust that your space is learning to protect you the way you've spent years protecting everyone else. Part 5, fourth item. A stick of cinnamon still warm with memory. There's something about cinnamon. The moment you open the jar or crack the stick just slightly, the scent rises, warm, familiar, immediate. It doesn't ask for permission. It just arrives like someone you love stepping through the door without knocking. It's not loud, but it changes everything. That's what cinnamon does. It moves what has been stuck. Gently, but with certainty. When you place a cinnamon stick into your rice jar, you're calling in momentum. Not the chaotic kind that leaves you breathless, but the steady kind. The kind of energy that nudges money to flow, ideas to land, and opportunities to return after they've been missing for too long. Cinnamon doesn't beg, it activates. It reminds your home and your life that stillness should not turn into stagnation. Think of the rice as fertile ground. The coin is your root. The silver ring holds peace. The amethyst protects your clarity. But cinnamon is the spark, the warmth, the invitation. It whispers to your home, wake up, let's move, let's receive again. You don't need anything fancy. One whole stick, not powdered, because we want energy that lasts, not something that scatters. Choose a stick with a clean curve. Hold it in your hand before placing it. Let the scent rise, inhale, and ask yourself, without pressure, where in my life do I want the energy to flow again? The answer may come in a whisper, let it. Then place the cinnamon gently into the rice, nestled just under the surface but close enough to breathe. Cinnamon doesn't like to be hidden. It needs a little space to radiate. Think of it as lighting a match, not to burn, but to glow. To warm the cold edges of a home that's been too quiet, too still for too long. In the days after placing it, you may notice a shift, not dramatic, but distinct. A phone call you'd been waiting on. A decision that finally feels clear. A project you'd put aside, now feeling light enough to pick up again. Cinnamon works like that. It brings life back to things you thought were done. And just like the scent lingers in the air, the energy lingers in your home. It reminds you that fortune is not just about how much you have. It's about how alive your life feels while you're receiving it. Are your mornings numb? Cinnamon wakes them up. Are your days filled with hesitation? Cinnamon clears the pause. This is not about rushing. This is about readiness. Cinnamon brings warmth to cold spaces, light to the forgotten corners of your thoughts. It tells you gently, you're allowed to want more. You're allowed to want movement, not struggle, but flow. Because you've spent years doing everything for everyone else. Keeping things steady, carrying the weight. But now, maybe something wants to carry you. Maybe something wants to move for you. That's the deeper magic of cinnamon. It doesn't just move energy outward. It stirs something inside you too. A memory of desire, a sense of direction, a little boldness you tucked away long ago. The part of you that once said yes to life without apology. That part, cinnamon calls her back. And when you catch the scent on a slow afternoon, maybe while reaching for a measuring cup or wiping down the counter, you'll remember. You'll remember you added that stick not for tradition, not for charm, but for change. And change doesn't always arrive with fanfare. Sometimes it starts with scent, with breath, with warmth in a glass jar filled with rice and intention. So let the cinnamon do what it's always done, bring the house back to life, and bring you back to yourself. Part 6, fifth item, a pinch of dried herbs crushed between fingers. Some homes feel heavy not from clutter but from energy that's been sitting still for too long. Conversations that ended with silence. Worries that never found words, rooms that haven't been aired out in years. And sometimes that heaviness doesn't shout, it just lingers, quiet, invisible, like dust that settles in places you forget to clean. That's where herbs come in. Dried herbs aren't just for cooking. They are for clearing, soft, natural, and full of memory. Rosemary, thyme, sage, these aren't New Age decorations. They are living history used for centuries by women who understood something modern life keeps forgetting. That energy can settle like fog and scent can lift it like sunlight. When you crush a pinch of dried herbs between your fingers, you awaken what's been asleep. The scent rises, subtle but firm. It calls the space to attention. It says, let's refresh, let's let go. That moment, that simple act becomes a reset for the room, for your breath, for your state of mind. Adding dried herbs to your rice jar does something beautiful. It keeps the energy fresh. Light, it prevents stagnation. Think of the rice as the ground, the coin as the root, the ring as the balance, the amethyst as the guardian, the cinnamon as the spark. Now the herbs are the wind. They move through gently but thoroughly, making sure nothing sticks that isn't meant to stay. You don't need a lot, just a small pinch, enough to fill your palm, enough to carry a scent. Before placing them, pause, hold the herbs in your hand, rub them lightly. Let the aroma rise and ask softly without needing to know the answer right away. What am I still holding that's not mine anymore? You might think of a conversation, a role you never meant to carry, a feeling that's overstayed its welcome. That's what the herbs are for, not to fix, but to help you release, to help your home release. Because your home doesn't just hold furniture, it holds memory, some good, some no longer useful. Then sprinkle the herbs gently across the top of the rice. Let them settle like a whisper, no need to stir or bury. Let them stay where they fall. They'll do their work quietly, softly refreshing the jar every time you walk past, like an invisible breeze moving through your kitchen. In the days that follow, you may notice something subtle. The air feels lighter. You exhale deeper. You open windows more often. Things that used to feel stuck begin to move, not dramatically, but with ease. A long postponed errand gets done. A small decision feels easier. You stop replaying the same old worry in your head. That's the gift of herbs. They don't demand, they invite. They remind you that part of attracting abundance is clearing space for it to arrive. That your energy, your home, can only hold what you're willing to make room for. And when that space smells like rosemary or sage, like thyme or lavender, something changes. The house exhales with you. Some people think wealth is about accumulation, but you know better. Real prosperity is also about release. Letting go of what's stale, making space for what feels alive. Dried herbs teach you that. And when you add them to your rice jar, you're saying to the universe, I'm not clinging, I'm curating. And that shift, subtle, powerful, begins to echo through your whole life. Suddenly you're less attached to old stories, less weighed down by other people's needs, more willing to make space for what you want. That's what freshness does. It restores your sense of choice, and with choice comes power, so open the jar. Let your fingers touch the grains, sprinkle the herbs, breathe in, and let the space remember this is a home that clears what's heavy. This is a woman who welcomes the new. Final, you didn't change your house. You didn't move furniture, knock down walls, or spend a fortune. You changed the energy, and that changes everything. Because what you just created in your rice jar isn't just a ritual, it's a signal. A message sent quietly through your home saying, this is a space that is tended to. This is a space where intention lives. This is a woman who is ready to receive fully, peacefully, and without fear. You see, our environments speak, not in words, but in how they feel. And when a space feels cared for, even in the smallest details, it begins to care for you in return. That's not superstition, that's physics. Everything in your home holds vibration. And when you touch those objects with meaning, you're not just decorating, you're tuning, you're harmonizing, you're shifting your surroundings into alignment with what you want to feel and what you want to attract. Each item in your rice jar played a role. The coin grounded you, the ring balanced you, the amethyst protected you, the cinnamon sparked you, the herbs refreshed you. None of them shouted, none of them needed applause. They just did their work in silence, just like you've done for so many years. But now the energy moves with you, around you, toward you, and not in chaos, but in calm, intentional flow. What you've created is more than symbolic, it's somatic. It touches your nervous system. It reminds your body that safety is real. That wealth isn't about pressure. That luck isn't random. It's a rhythm, a resonance. And when your home starts to hum in that frequency, you feel it. Things shift, you shift. So trust this. Trust what felt subtle. Trust what felt gentle. The most powerful changes often arrive that way, not with noise, but with return. A return to clarity, to worth, to the quiet knowing that your space can hold abundance, and so can you. Let the jar sit. Let the energy ripple. And most of all, let yourself begin to believe again. Because the moment you placed those items inside that jar wasn't about the jar. It was about you choosing, claiming, remembering. And that, softly, quietly, is where transformation begins.